Okay, so look, I know in the last video I said that was probably hopefully gonna be the last video that you saw with this kind of quality since I have a new camera and all, but it turns out I don't have the right cord to hook up that camera to my Elgato, so I can't connect it to OBS, so I have an easier time recording these videos instead of having the camera here and having the microphone there and doing it all separately, and I'm not doing that. I'm not risking that, so please bear with me until I find the right cord, because Jesus. Anyway, hey, new talking about comments. We haven't done this in like a fucking month or whatever, so hello everyone. If you don't know who I am, well then you can call me Ari, and today we are talking about the June 2017 manga release from Seven Seas Entertainment, The Bride Was a Boy, which you can't see. Yeah, okay, now you can see it. The Bride Was a Boy. This is the 100% absolute true story written and illustrated by a woman who goes by the name of Chi and her journey as a transgender woman. The manga originated from her personal blog where she talked about being trans, but she ended up having enough material to turn it into a one-shot manga. The manga is, as the title says it is, this is Chi's story before, during, and after transitioning from male to female, and all of it is neatly presented in chronological order from her childhood to wedding bells. Now, obviously, I am not transgender. I'm not going to stand here and talk out of my ass and say that I know how it feels to be depressed and suicidal and lonely because you feel like that you were born in the wrong body. I'm not going to stand here and say, hey, I know how fucked up it feels to have gender dysphoria, but I do think that proper basic education on what it's like to be gay and trans and how one may figure that out is important so that we don't have a bunch of dumbass middle schoolers and old people on Facebook running around calling people faggots and actually meaning it. Because just having the basic knowledge of what gender dysphoria is and knowing that being transgender is more than just popping pills and turning your dick inside out is helpful. Not because you may or may not know a transgender person in your life, but just to have the basic knowledge of it is helpful and useful, and it may come in handy one day or another. Because I was never taught about homosexuality or gender dysphoria, and I had to educate myself about that after coming out of the closet myself. I had to teach myself so many things that nobody wanted to talk to me about, so many things that the American school system and my parents failed to educate me about. And now that I have the knowledge and know how fucked up it can feel having gender dysphoria, at least now I'm able to provide aid in the form of comfort to my friends who may need it. But my own personal saltiness aside, spoiler alert, I like this comic. That's it. I just like it. I like when Chi is a child and her world is shook because a group of girls call her a boy and she didn't know that. I like how she shows how she experiments with her sexuality through her school years. I like how she shows how lonely being in denial can be and how hard it is to be someone that you're not. But more importantly, I like how simple this comic is. And I don't mean simple as in read it in 20 minutes and be done with it, but simple as in there's nothing dark and depressing about this comic, but it's also not sunshine and rainbows. I love how Chi is living a good life because she's surrounded by good people. I love how after her transition, she's able to be herself and not hide anything anymore. But more importantly, I love how she was able to find someone who loved her so much that he wanted to marry her when he first laid eyes on her. I really can't help but smile when I read Chi's story because of how pleasant it can be sometimes. Yeah, sure, you have the moments where she's lonely and confused and has to lie in order to fit in and be normal, but the moment where Chi is crying and calling husband Kun on the phone from Thailand after her surgery, the moment when the nurses say that she's beautiful after her surgery, those moments, along with just the little moments like that in this woman's life, are just adorable and pleasant and well worth reading this manga. And in being an autobiography, you have to remember that these characters are real people. We don't really get to know Chi as much because she doesn't go into her personality, besides little things like how she's always on her phone or how she cries a lot. She focuses more on her story and the people that are in her life. She focuses on how confusing and miserable her life was before transitioning and how much better things are for her after transitioning, and how much work she put into transitioning, how long and tiring those years were really paid off in the end, because now she's happier than she's ever been in her life. You can't help but smile at how good these people were to her, at how her friends congratulate her for starting her transition, at how her family briefly reacts by being in a state of shock, but a few minutes later go, oh, that's what's going on? Well, looks like I'm getting a daughter. Alright, whatever. If you need anything, I'm still here for you. And they accept her as a daughter, as a sister. And she acknowledges this. She acknowledges that she was one of the lucky ones, because not everyone is able to have an accepting family, an accepting friend circle. She acknowledges that not everyone's transition is as fast or as simple as hers. And she also acknowledges how thankful she is to have husband Kun in her life in little ways in her story. Being the second biggest person in this manga, husband Kun is often portrayed as being perfect, and we all know that no human being on earth is this perfect. And in this manga, he's still kind of awkward, he still worries, he's always on cloud 9, but the fact that he's portrayed as just the nicest freaking human being on the planet is adorable to me, because you have to remember, this is all from Chi's perspective. Just how this man is portrayed with a storytelling glow around him is... if that ain't true love, I don't know what isn't. And husband Kun really, really loves Chi. He's loved her from the moment he saw her and said, oh my gosh, she's so cute, she's my type, I have to date her. And on a night where he asked Chi to be his girlfriend and she comes out to him as being transgender, he thanks her for her courage and her bravery for telling him that, because he understood how hard it must have been for her to say that. And he's just there for her for everything that she does. He supports her for every decision that she makes with her life and her body. Even if the advice he has to offer Chi isn't the best, like the part where she asks him if she should go through with her sexual reassignment surgery, and he just beams at her and says, I love you if you get the surgery or not. That's just adorable. That's adorable. That's just... husband Kun even has his own afterwards where he acknowledges that in the story he's often portrayed as perfect, but in real life he really isn't, because he has his own worries and anxieties about himself and his wife and his marriage. But ultimately, in the end, they wish that they can live peacefully together until old age. Reading that should just make you want to scream, this man loves his wife! This freaking artwork alone made me want to read this comic. This manga was first brought to my attention a few months ago by my friend Dylan, who also has a YouTube channel that I'll link down below. And as soon as he showed me this comic, I was like, oh my god, I must read. This art is adorable. And the art is pretty adorable. This manga has a really cute chibi art style that's very simple. It's not too complex. It doesn't have the best backgrounds. It doesn't have the best character design. But you know what? It's just very aesthetically pleasing to look at if you're as into chibis as I am. And that's really all I have to say about the art, because with artwork this simple, there's really not much to say about it at all, besides the fact that it's freaking cute and adorable, and I love it. So yeah, I really don't have much to say about The Bride Was a Boy, besides the fact that this is nice, this is pleasant, this is fine, this is simple, and so much of what makes that simple is just how good Chi's life is. And I'm happy with her. I'm happy that her transition was fast and simple. I'm happy that she has good people around her. I'm happy that she was able to find someone who loved her so much to marry her. And I'm just happy that she is living a good life in a country with laws that try to prevent her and other people like her from getting married to the person that they love, because same-sex marriage is still illegal in Japan, and there's a whole bunch of legal jargon that's pretty fucking unnecessary. And I say that as someone who speaks as an American, but I also say that as someone who is a human being and believe that all human beings should be treated equally and with respect, no matter who you are, what you are, where you come from. We're all just people on this earth, and no one should have to feel different or be treated differently just because they are different, but are just as normal as everyone else. In the end, I'm giving The Bride Was a Boy a 7 out of 10. I don't think this is a must-read like a similar manga that came out last year, My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness, because it doesn't have the rawness of lesbian experience. This is just a very nice, pleasant manga to read, and if you want to read it, by all means, go ahead, but if it sounds like it's not for you, then feel free to skip it. At most, I highly recommend it as an educational tool. I think this is a great manga for young people to read due to how simply written it is. I forgot to mention this, but the manga has these educational tidbits that I personally skipped because I knew what everything she was talking about was, except for the end where she explains Japanese laws and how they prevent someone like her to get married or force them into a unwanted divorce because same-sex marriage is not legal there yet. And obviously I recommend this manga if you're a transgender yourself, more specifically if you're starting or are in the process of transitioning, or if you just want to learn about the process or what it's like being transgender, because what better way to do that besides through the eyes of a transgender woman? So if you would like to support The Bride Was a Boy, please support the official release by either purchasing it at your official bookstore or going on 7 Seasons website or through Amazon, but I fucking hate Amazon and that's how my girlfriend got me this book. But I don't judge. And if you like this video and would like to see more, then you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. Swear to God, the next Talking About Comics is going to be on My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. But until then, you can follow me on Twitter at CallMeAriNS, and my other links should also be on the screen right now, like to my Ko-fi, Mal, and Twitch, all of which are known as Call Me Ari. But until then, links to where you can purchase the book, along with my socials, will be in the description down below. Until next time, my name is Ari, this has been Talking About Comics, and please, have a good one.